Right, straight from the chest. I am Justin Groth, your host. This is a personal development podcast, people. I appreciate you tuning in, listening, viewing. I hope you gain immeasurable value from it, as the only thing that I want to display on this podcast. If you're a lot like me, then you have a hard time being self-aware. That's pretty much my biggest struggle. And I know it doesn't seem like it for most people that are listening, because I talk about stuff on here that displaces vulnerability, humility with regards to me and what, my journey is. But you would think that, I think you know who you are, Justin, but it's not a problem of knowing who I am. It's a problem of displaying it. And that's what I feel is my biggest roadblock. And I felt like that for years, guys, for years. I think ever since grade school. I feel like I have stuff that I have a certain way that I think and process things through, and the way I see things and the way that I filter information from just being exposed to it. And I think differently about certain topics or areas of discussion. And my biggest fault, or my biggest problem, or hurdle, I should say, is being able to display what I feel or how I feel without caring. Because even though this podcast is called Straight from the Chest, and that would imply that I say what's on my chest, because my heart is still a certain way and beats a certain way, I don't want to hurt your feelings or anybody who's listening to this. I still have a problem with that. I'm still empathetic to that and the way I feel about certain things. And it's not all about me talking and saying what I feel, and like you even care to know that. But what I'm trying to describe is that I'm built mechanically and biologically a certain way, and chemically a certain way. I'm wired a certain way. And so I view things or see things maybe differently than the way you do. Or I have a hardened or gritted attitude towards certain things that you have a soft attitude towards. And maybe that soft attitude has not produced any result because of the soft attitude or soft approach. And maybe my grit and persevered attitude is the reason why I bulldoze through certain things in life and you don't. But maybe you bulldoze through certain things that I don't, or vice versa. What I'm trying to illustrate is that if you drop who you are, you don't recognize who you are and constantly become involved in that pattern, then you can start to just put on, be a show for people. And the biggest thing for me is not being a show. I don't want to be a show. I want to display what is true and authentic to me. And if I gather an audience doing it, then I do, but that's not the agenda. The agenda is to fulfill the urgency in my gut to do this particular thing, this being a podcast, and it being oriented around personal development, self-help, self-development, however you want to string it. That is the origin of this podcast. But in the process, because I care so much about the podcast, and not necessarily about the podcast in general in terms of the platform, but I care so much about delivering value, things that you can use that I feel maybe you need to hear, not that you want to hear, but that you need to hear, that can help progress you in your own purpose, your journey in life. That is what I care about above all else. And so if I have to do it on this, then I do it on this. But the goal, the construct behind this word is to deliver something to you that you can apply in your life. Maybe you need to hear it with a person that has hardened grit and a persevering attitude towards certain things that you don't, and you can use this as ammunition towards bulldozing your giants in the future. So that's the reason why this exists. Now, oftentimes, because I care so much about the value oriented in the message, I myself can begin to speak messages that I'm not ready to speak yet. I hope this makes sense to you, and I hope you're staying with me, because what I'm going to advocate could apply in your life. If I'm becoming more concerned with the clout or reputation associated that is the makeup of me, Justin, then I can lose sight of what really matters. And that's A, the development of my own being in the progressive context, and B, delivering the value to you. Because if I don't wholeheartedly believe and am persecuted with the authentic expression that I'm displaying, you will not hear it like I want you to hear it. You will not receive it like I'd like you to receive it. And it boils down to a problem of us living above where we should be living. Now, this isn't meant to be taken as a pessimistic, can't-do attitude. It's meant to be taken as a self-aware where you're at in your journey, in your life, with respect to your purpose, to the end game attitude. I, like you, are inspired by people that are in my space, but they're not in my space. They're doing things that are a little different from me, but I still receive and respect where they're at. And because I listen so innately on what they say, and I respect so much of where they're at and what they've manifested, not only by themselves, but through God that gave them the gift, I can't help, because I'm a human being, I can't help but want to derive some of that. And I actually want to be on their playing field. Not because I believe that I'm where they're at, but because I believe of what God gave me. I sound like a caveman talking. I believe of what God gave me. I believe what God gave me is so immeasurably magnificent. Like what he gave you is so immeasurably magnificent. It needs to be cultivated. It needs to be produced. But that doesn't happen in a season or 2 or 3 or 9. It takes the cumulative effect of ongoing seasons to produce the seed that is your purpose. And if you believe that where you're at right now, just starting to sprout, that you should be the height of that oak tree that's been growing for years and years, then you're sadly mistaken, just like I am. It doesn't mean that because you're in the same space, you might be in the same forest. It doesn't mean you two don't belong together side by side and are supposed to reside together in the same space, but you need to respect the growing process. You need to respect, and when I say you, I'm talking to me. You need to respect the preparatory process. You need to respect the growth process that lies ahead of you and not get too caught up with gaining more leverage or more momentum than is necessary. You're in the time you're in right now because that's where you're at. It is what it is. That's it. And you can pretend that you are an oak tree when you're just a mere seed. You can pretend that you need to deliver on the measures that an oak tree delivers when you're just a mere seed. And it's not by way of you being falsified, but it's by way of your ambition that believes that you are at this level when you're not. I'm not at the level that I think I am. Or I'm sorry, no, I'm not at the level that I believe. I need to frame this right. I am not yet at the level that I want to be. That's it. Not there yet. And I shouldn't be, because it takes time to deliver the kind of progression purpose that I feel I'm supposed to deliver on. But that's not right now. And so because of that, and I'm getting ahead of myself here, and I think also I'm trying to subconsciously mold a clout, a bravado around what it is that I see myself as. And that's my optimistic way of thinking. I see myself as the heightened version of where I'm at because of what God has given me. That's it. Not because of any conceit or because I think I deserve it or because I'm entitled. It's primarily, solely based around what I feel on a visceral level. And because I have faith on the things that are not yet manifested in my life, that's what I power myself on. And that's what is motivating me giving me momentum towards my future. But I need to respect my own process, much like you need to respect yours. It's not your time. It's not my time to deliver a message that is beyond me. I may think that I am capable of it, but being capable and being authentic are two different things. And I want to deliver on messages that I'm authentic on and that I have integrity behind. And when I say integrity, I mean just what I feel on I don't think integrity actually applies to what I'm trying to notion here. Authentic is what I'm trying to construct around. My authentic view, my authentic nature, because that's inevitably displayed with integrity. I may speak on something that I believe, and for the record, everything that I talk about, I believe or I practice. But sometimes I can watch someone that I know is years ahead of me, and I can think that I have the ability to produce what they're producing, but I don't. And I shouldn't, because it's not my time yet. Just like it's not your time. I need to consistently be refined and sharpened and cut to the point where there is a time, there will be a time that I'll be able to deliver on that magnitude. But it's not my time yet, and I got to respect my own process. I can't force what's not there yet. And just because I don't speak on that level yet doesn't mean I'm not capable of that level. And that is applicatory to you, where you're at. You can apply it to anything in your life, any career set, any mindset, any kind of endeavor. It's applicatory to all of us. But we must respect the process. We must respect where we're at. And we need to drop the habit of trying to focus around a clout or bravado and focus on the vessel in which the word or the action is being produced. It's not about your clout or your bravado. That's not the thing that's going to scale you. The thing that's going to scale you is becoming self-aware, intrinsically aware of who you are and where you're at and where you're supposed to be, but with a consensus on where you're going and where you belong. That's the game changer. Respecting your process is everything. So I need to step back and I need to produce on what I feel I'm authentically aware of. I need to continually produce that. But what happens is I have a little tussle, and you may have the same tussle. You may play the same tug of war, with the good angel, bad angel. Like, let's just put that as the analogy. I have that same tussle, that same tug of war, because most of the people in my community, they know me as a Christian, but I'm not perfect. But most of the time, people assume Christians to be perfect or have placed expectations on Christians to produce a certain way or to speak a certain way. And sometimes, let me be honest, let me go back to what I was saying before with wanting to not hurt your feelings. I have a sharp tongue and I have a sharp process, and the way that I speak can sometimes be jagged and sharp. And sometimes that's just what's on my mind. But the reason why I refrain is because I don't believe you can handle it. And I don't believe that you are going to be feeling the way that I want you to feel or receive it the way I want you to receive it based on what I say, even if it is jagged or raw. You can speak to some of my closest friends and my family. I speak raw and jagged and sharp a lot of the time. And it's not coming from a place of conviction. It's coming from a place of just wherewithal and authenticity. But because I'm on this channel, or I've produced this channel, and I've produced this show of sorts, or this podcast, I find myself wanting to produce on a level that is cohesive of what I feel you need, A, and what you can receive, B. And they could be a good thing, it could be a bad thing. In the process, I sometimes become diluted. I not only become diluted from that, but I also become diluted from thinking that I am supposed to function on a platform that I'm not yet there. I've not yet been able to manifest or receive. And so both of those qualities, those things can become deterrents. And they can, if I'm not careful, the devil can use them as a dysfunction. He can show me that as a dysfunction, that I'm not ready, that my impaired ability to speak on a level that I think I should be, if I denounce the process that we should respect, in parentheses, if I function on that dysfunction, I'm not going to be what I'm supposed to be. And that can suppress me on a level that is where I don't even do this anymore. I don't even speak anymore. Because the devil's used something that is actually an innate quality and ability that God has given, he's planted inside of me, that I'm supposed to capitalize on. I'm supposed to produce and cultivate that seed. If I'm not aware and if I'm not careful, the devil will come in and he'll call that a dysfunction. If I can't capitalize where I'm at and be what I think I'm supposed to be, because I'm not respecting the process, he can use that as a dysfunction. And you know that we don't want to be dysfunctional. None of us want to display a dysfunction. We all want to display the clout, the bravado that is us, because we feel so important and we feel that we're the best at what we do, etc., etc. But there's a respective process correlated to manifesting that, and you got to respect that. And at the time, in respecting that process and that growth and that cultivation, where you're not yet thriving, you're barely surviving, but you understand viscerally there's something more he wants to do with you, and you can feel it. You feel it every day when you wake up, you get out of bed, you got purpose, you got anointing over your life. But if you allow the devil to come in and say, you're not where you think you're supposed to be, that's a dysfunction. You're dysfunctional. Stop lying to yourself. You can start to suppress it. And that's where death resides. If you're not living under your purpose, your purposeful preparatory path, and you're not respecting the preparatory process, you can allow the devil to come in and call that a dysfunction, and that is when death occurs. Death will occur in your life on the spiritual level, on the purpose-driven level. And what are you without going towards and exalting your purpose that God has inspirited you with? What is the meaning of life at that point? It becomes meaningless, and the devil wins. Let me tell you how this plays out. The devil doesn't win. God wins. And you need to continuously respect the process that God is cultivating in your life, because that process is all a part of your resiliency in the end. That process is all about your purpose in the end. And you need to respect that process, because it's just as gold now as it will be in the future when you're actually thriving at your zenith. Let me repeat that. It's just as gold now in the cultivation process as it will be when you reach your zenith in your purpose.